Hi again everyone, welcome back to another session of Christ-Centered Conversations. Today once again we'll have three of us, although you cannot see one. Three of us will be talking about saints. Yeah. All of us basically wrote letters to saints as part of one of our writing exercises. And so today we'll be talking about the letter that we wrote to a particular saint. And then Garrett, who is outside the screen, will ask us questions about these saints, right? So Greg, which saint do you write to?
So actually I wrote to Saint Peter, and I think it's very interesting because he was the first pope, right? And this year is like the 500th anniversary of the Reformation. And so this whole idea of Christian unity, that whole concept came about when I was writing the letter. What about you, Chris?
Oh, very interesting that Greg wrote a letter to the first pope. I wrote to another pope, specifically Pope John the 23rd. Yeah, I chose to write a letter to this pope because I first got to know of him through this book that I was reading by Friar Mark Foley, Carmelite, The Ascent of Mount Carmel, St. John of the Cross Reflections. So I really like what I read about this particular pope is because he seemed to be a very jovial and jolly pope.
Yeah.
And for someone who took on such a role in the church, I found it very amazing that he could still be so jovial and so lighthearted. Yeah. So this is what we wrote, and then now Garrett will probably ask us some questions about these two saints that we wrote to. And if you are more interested in our actual letters, you can refer to our website where our actual articles are there.
Can you guys tell me what you admire the most about the saints that you wrote about?
I think Saint Peter was just flawed. Yeah, was just flawed.
Okay.
And I love that part about him because
You admire him being flawed.
Yeah, no, because sometimes when we talk about saints or popes, right, we want to make it grand, right? You know, and make them like more than men, you know. But that's not true, and we can see it in the Bible. Like Peter has so many flaws, and yet he was still chosen. And I think that's very interesting in that, reminiscent of ourselves with many flaws, we are still called to be Catholics and Christians as well.
So for me, Garrett, what I really like about Pope John the 23rd is how he contextualizes what it means to be holy. It's not being someone other than ourselves, right? Pope John the 23rd was quoted to have said that the concept of holiness is grossly mistaken in our world today, and one does not have to be another Augustine, another Ignatius, another Francis. I don't know about you, but I can't speak to dogs or cats, so I don't think I can.
I try.
But the point is that to be the best version of yourself and to not take yourself too seriously. And I really found that immensely liberating and very enlightening. And for a pope to be able to say this, to not take yourself too seriously, to have jokes. I mean, if you Google Pope John the 23rd, you'll see that he cracked a lot of jokes, right? One of the jokes is something like, I wake up one day and I realize that there's a lot of issues with the church, and I wonder, how would the Pope solve this? And I realize I'm the Pope. You know, that kind of a joke, right? So I really find that kind of humor is so interesting in the way he was doing things,
So John the 23rd is actually known for setting up the Second Vatican Council, right? And we know for Saint Peter, he had the duty of leading the church after Jesus ascended to heaven. So do you guys feel a call in that sense, to
be a pope?
I think it's quite hard.
Do you guys feel these saints sort of inspire you guys as well to be leaders in various ministries in the church as well?
Your question is very poignant, and I think taking what I've learned from what Pope John the 23rd was like is to really meet everybody at where they are, right? To know that everybody is not the end product yet, to know that all of us are in the process of becoming. Having that as a lens to look at things, I then feel immensely called to be compassionate, to be more patient, to be more accepting of people. How about yourself?
For me, we talk about Peter having flaws. I don't think he wanted to be Pope in a sense. Or even at that time, I don't think there's such a concept as Pope yet.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think the root of how Peter came about to become one of Jesus' disciple was heeding Jesus' call to drop his nets, right? I think that's very important, to drop our own assumptions of who we are, of who other people are, and to realize that the common thread that we all have is this God of ours, right, that we all believe in. And this whole idea of dropping our nets and going back to the center of it all, to not hold anything and realizing that the center and the focus of it should be God. I think that's one thing that I think I've learned from Peter. Whether I'm called to be a leader or not, that's up to God ultimately, I think.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
So you guys have written letters to these saints. So what do you think these saints would say to you in reply?
Oh, wow. You're very
Oh,
lucky.
no.
You're very lucky you're not here.
I'm sure my turn myself.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I was writing this, it was more of a rant for me. If you read the actual letter, it's quite filled with rant and slight angst. But I think like Saint Peter will probably agree, or at least will remind us once again that like the reason he started out all this was always a journey with Jesus. And for him, like his whole discipleship was a journey with Jesus, like literally a journey.
Yeah.
And so I guess I like if he shared about Jesus, like, like what was he like, being with Jesus in that journey.
If I were to imagine what Pope John the 23rd would write back to me would be,
Maybe a snarky remark.
No,
Cracking a joke.
Yeah, he'll crack a joke. Yeah, he'll probably crack a joke and remind me also that holiness is a process of knowing oneself, and in doing so, knowing God, and to enjoy the process, to not be too fixated on the final place that we are all called to be, but to have fun, to laugh, and to laugh a lot, to find God in humor.
Yeah.
Probably the letter to me is, Dear Chris, ha ha ha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Like, I've read these articles, they're great, and like I look forward to when they go up online.
Yeah. See you all again soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.